Check 1 2 test. Yeah, that was a lot of fun doing the thing with Jeff. Can you hear me out there? How's the volume? How's the voice? How's everything? I know there's quite a delay from the software I'm going through to YouTube. You can see my my dog here behind my headstock. Oh, that's good. This is a new ball game for me. I'm doing this social media thing, but it's going to be fun to pass this stuff along. It's time to move things forward. Let's give people a few more minutes. There aren't a whole lot of viewers. We'll give them a few more minutes to jump on. It's kind of corny ending on the root, isn't it? Hey guys, it's my pleasure doing this. 68 years old, it's time to pass on the baton. It's fun. Fun hanging out with Jeff, seeing a lot of my former students on here doing stuff. My buddy Barry Green is doing a great thing at his school in Jacksonville, which I'll soon be a nearby resident. Bought a house in St. Augustine. So hopefully this may be... I may not get to enjoy the Northeast winter this year. A lot of good players are moving down there. We'll give it another 2 more minutes, and I'm going to start to pass on this stuff for you all. I don't know how many people are out there. It just says current viewers, like 8 or 10 or something like that. It does take a bit to get some viewers. I'll pass on the words because I'll keep building on it. Mr. Rosmel, how are you, brother? I see you're posting with all those unbelievable Guild guitars. It's old George Benson world, old Guild guitars. George played that, what was it? No, it wasn't. It was a super, what was it? X400, X500? Something like that. I always liked those set of pickups. All right, guys, let's get down to it. Let's do some stuff. If you all heard me with Jeff last week, we talked about all of us starting out in the blues and starting out by playing the minor pentatonic and trying to find notes that all will fit to play melodies in the blues. And I kind of feel that's how we all started. And then we moved on from there. Anyway, the topic today is the secret or the magic of minor 6 chords. Well, here's what minor 6 chords have done for me. You got 3 X500s. God bless you. I had one once. Here's what minus, what I'm showing you all is I was fortunate to graduate Berklee in a really cool time, early 70s. A lot of great players were there, a lot of great teachers were there. I was fortunate to study for many years with Charlie Benakis and then Dennis Sandoli, and fortunate to have someone we can call a mentor to many of us, Mr. George Benson. And with myself and my close friend Richie Hart, we would scope out what George did. And this is one of the many tools that we watched George use. I think because he too probably came from the pentatonic, minor traditional scale. I want to say traditional pentatonic scale because anything that's 5 notes is a penta, So, but we have a traditional one that's derivative of the major scale with the removal of two of the active tone, the 2 active tones, which is the 7th and the 7th and the 4th, and it gives us what we know is the major pentatonic, which sounds like My Girl. Okay, it gets rid of all of those active notes in the beginning. So, and then what we did is we forced it on a blues by taking the minor mode of that, which Berklee called a la pentatonic because it's from do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. And we all did the same thing. If we're playing a blues for this demonstration, A, because that's probably where we all found ourselves in the beginning. Well, on the A chord, that's sharp 9, that's root, that's flat 7. That's 5, this is sus 4. On the D chord, that's flat 7, that's 5, that's sus 4, this is 9, this is the root. On the 5 chord, this is sharp 5, right? This is sus 4, this is sharp 9, this is the root of A7, right? And this is the flat 7. Okay, and so we would hang on those notes and say, yeah, I got to go in, I'll bend up to that one after that. And then at some point you wanted to really commit to the change, outline the change, and start to put more colors on your palette. Well, along those kind of lines, And I think Rosmel probably heard me speak of this a long time ago. I think the first time I ever did a Facebook Live thing. Along those lines, if you take that A minor pentatonic or C major, and let's think of it as A minor as a 2 chord in the key of G, okay? And you can surround it with any note you want. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about chromaticisms and direct and indirect resolutions at some point when we all get back on here. But move one note. Move the G to F sharp, and now you have a D dominant pentatonic. Okay? Or A minor 6 pentatonic. And here's where the fun starts. And I'm going to put something up on the screen for you. And hopefully it'll be popping up on Facebook in a second. And there it is. Okay, and what we have is, and I'm going to look at it here. Okay, what we have is the original C major pentatonic or A minor. And then we move the one note, and that gave us the F sharp, which now makes it a D9 or a D7, or you see the stuff below? Additional use. It's all C major 7, sharp 11. It's all D7. It's all A minor 6. It's all F sharp minor 7, flat 5. Those are all the same names for the same thing. Okay? That's what they are. And when I remember asking George, when he played stuff like that, what do you want to call it? He goes, I don't know, whatever you want to put in the bass. So if you're playing this chord and someone puts a D in the bass, yeah, it's going to sound like some kind of a D7 chord. If they put A in the bass, it's going to sound like some kind of an A minor 6. If they put F sharp in the bass, it's going to sound like an F sharp minor 7, flat 5. And if you look at an F sharp minor 7, flat 5, and that position I'm in, let me just move this guy a little out of the way. And you take away the F sharp, it's A minor. So the available notes to target are all the same. Now, as many of you have played every mode from every degree. We had to do it at Berkeley, starting from every finger. I've practiced all my arpeggios. But this tool that I'm passing on kind of snapped me. When I practiced arpeggios, I would solo sounding like arpeggios. When I practiced scales, my solo sounded like scales. When I started to incorporate this as my main focus when I solo, I started playing more lines a la George, a la Charlie Parker. And there's ways that we can elaborate on this that we'll talk about more in the future. But this is just the basic and the beginning of it. Now, I think you guys got this. I'm going to yank this off the page. So I'm back for real. And let's see if you can hear this. I'm going to play lines based on what I just pointed out to you. And hey, Jeffrey. So the lines I just pointed out to you based on that concept, and I've said this, in fact, to Jeff in that interview. I can't be a slave to more than one master. So maybe some people can. I mean, I found myself being a slave to all these masters when I improvised, and all of a sudden go, oh yeah, symmetric diminished scale, and there it went out. Symmetric diminished scale had nothing to do with playing a melody. Same thing, altered dominant scale. Oh, here we go, altered dominant scale. and it sounded as such. It did not sound like great melodies. This kind of, you know, uh, kind of dragged me to realize I had to play melodies, and it made it to where, because it's a pentatonic thing of 5 notes, which is really nothing more than extended arpeggio, if you want to consider it A minor 11 arpeggio, if you want to consider it a G9 arpeggio or A minor 6 arpeggio, it's still an arpeggio. It's just you're not doing it in tertial harmony or in thirds all the time. I'm not saying you don't play thirds. I'm not saying you don't play scale lines. I'm not saying you don't do any of the above. But for me, it works because I target. My ear tells me where things go. And when I use chromaticisms, I am always on a nice strong beat when I'm hitting all these chord tones, and it just sounds more musical to me. In my ears, I feel like I am playing better music. So maybe you'll adapt adopt this. Thank you, Jeff. We did our sound check, and I'm glad it came off good. I'm wearing my headphones. So I adopted it. It's changed my playing in a lot of ways. I don't sound so deliberate. I don't sound so contrived. And it brings me back to what our roots were initially, which was kind of like the blues anyway, which, blues in its earlier forms were very melodic to start with. And then, as you add your more tools, you should remain melodic without losing the melody, but now embellishing it like Charlie Parker did, like George does. I mean, man, George plays the blues unbelievably. You get a record called Off the Top and his opening statement, bop bop do that down. I mean, he comes out of the gate swinging. Anyway, enough of that. Let me just show you. I made a loop. Let's see if you can hear it. I'll turn it up a little louder. Okay, that's an A minor 6 chord. I'm going to play the same line. Oh, look, it just changed. F sharp minor 7 flat 5, same line. Now, I'm targeting these things that I'm telling you. Here it is. I'll play verbatim. I'll put some chromatics there. I'm targeting those notes I just described. So that's a demonstration, a quick demonstration on those chords are the same. The targeted tones are the same. Yes, if someone plays, let me just shut this off. If someone plays an F sharp in the bass and you hit an F sharp, of course it sounds like the root. If someone plays a D and you hit an F sharp, it sounds like mi do. It sounds like the third. Okay? Yes. So the measurement and the intervallic relationships change to your ear, but your targeted notes, those are still great chord tone targeted notes to select. We'll talk in a later thing about chromatic from below, the scale from above, building chromatic lines and targeting these notes of A minor 6 arpeggio or A minor 6 pentatonic or whatever name you want to give it. It's just But now that you know that those notes and those targeted areas all equal C major 7, D7, A minor 6, F sharp minor 7, flat 5. When you create a line on one, you're automatically creating a line on the others. Okay, so that's what I want to pass. The other thing I want to pass on, which Jeff and I spoke about, is if you haven't practiced in this manner before, I'm assuming we all know the original basic pentatonic scales, and you probably all know them in that and the minor way we first use them, by forcing them over a blues, kind of like the harmonica mentality of playing a blues harp. Okay, but if you do them as minor, and then you make that change, turning them into a D dominant pentatonic or an A minor 6 pentatonic, then you play them in one area and go through cycle 5. So let me just make a quick change here. Let's see if this is it. That's A minor. Now I'm going to B flat. E flat, which brings me back to the first one I started. Same fingering. It only goes up a half step. Sorry. Only goes up a half step, and then you're starting the same 5 fingerings. Because I think straight off, anybody could sit there, or any of us could sit there and go, okay, here's D, here's D, here's D, and so on. But to stay in one space, this way, let's just say you're doing something in cycle 5, and you're sitting there going B flat to E flat, so you got back, and then back to E flat, of course, B flat, F, E flat, B flat, F. I'm targeting them. I'm being really deliberate right now with it. But that's what I wanted to pass on in this session. Learn them, play them in all keys in one area. And then at some point, we'll talk about chromaticism. We'll talk about direct and indirect resolution. I'll touch upon it a little bit now. If you want a targeted note, you can always go chromatic from below, and that's what Charlie Banacus called direct resolution, and that meant that you go from chromatic into your targeted tones. In this case, we're going to just say we're targeting chord tones. Okay, I don't want to say arpeggios, but they are. I don't want to call it pentatonics, but they are. If all of you love McCoy Tyner and you listen to McCoy Tyner's solo, man, I just can't help but think that this is one of his main tools, his compositional tools, and that's really all this is compositional tools that you can use spontaneously when you compose, which is called improvisation, right? Okay, so chromatic from below, I'm doing. And then Charlie Banacus had scale from above. What scale? You know, if you want to consider it Dorian, then you're doing this. Okay? If you want to consider it Aeolian, you're doing this. Okay? To me, that I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but you know, let it be whatever you choose at that moment. The point is that you're resolving your ideas to a strong tone, and it's also a tone that should be on a strong beat. The other thing I neglected to mention, yes, if you look at those 4 chords, you can say C Lydian, A Dorian, D Mixolydian, F sharp Locrian. Yeah. You could do that. But like I said, when I played scales, I sounded like when I practiced scales, I improvised like I was practicing scales. So I don't. I practice targeted tones and make lines and create lines from it. So anyway, so those are the things. I mean, and here's something that if you all are hip to Barry Harris, a great piano player, a great educator. Barry Harris comes from a similar thing, and he too was like a Charlie Parker disciple, and he creates what he calls a bebop scale. But the bebop scale is nothing more than using one chromaticism within the scale so that everything falls on a strong beat. So if I do a bebop scale on B flat, it's going to be B, C, D, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, A natural, B. But notice when you play it as eighth notes, everything falls on the downbeat. And if you do it ascending, if you start from any chord tone, okay, I started from B flat, I'm starting from A flat now. I'm starting from the fifth. I'm starting from the third. I'm starting from the root. So if you tie that together with what we just spoke about, and you decide you did a line and you went, you're never going to be. Now look, I'm going all the way chromatic down from the third. Oh, I can keep going. And then look, I land on the downbeat on the fifth. So very reminiscent of GB. If he goes, so everything's based in chord tones and how you attack them and how you resolve them. There's no. George said this to me many moons ago. There's no wrong notes. It's just a bad resolution. Then again, if you intended the bad resolution, then it's not a wrong note. So, that's what I want to share today. The magic of a minor sixth chord, which we know is also C major 7 sharp 11. It's also D9. It's also F sharp minus 7 flat 5. Okay. Is there any questions? Anybody want to shoot me any questions while I can read my comments? Are we all good? Next time we get together, we'll do more. I'll post more about chromaticisms. I'll post more about using these, the whole concept in more of a substitution for other chords. I'm going to post two other things on the screen for future chat. Here is the original pentatonic, which you guys should have up there anyway. And if you can see the C major pentatonic, and and then the G pentatonic, and also this is the one that gets most everybody. I'll give you a brief review of what I just posted when it shows up. There it is. I resize it. Okay. Can you give me a couple of exercises to get under my fingers? Couple of exercises. Okay. Let's see. Clive, you want those exercises to be just motor skill exercises, or exercises to get this actual compositional device under your fingers? That's important. I mean, a motor skill exercise, I mean, that could be a number of different things that have really nothing to do with playing a melody, just getting getting finger memory going, like just doing this, and then working different patterns, which I gave all my students in their early days. Or I always was a believer in economy of movement, so I would make them hold their hands here and move one finger at a time to tell the fingers not to do, so that you don't have flying fingers. Shoot me exactly what kind of exercise you want. If it comes to having to do these scales or this compositional device, I think the best exercise would be to do them in groups of fourths, groups of patterns of 3. Do that. Doing patterns of 4. Just remember, you don't want to, those are great to limber up your fingers. But you don't want to, and you may in the middle of an improvisation come across a pattern and hear it in your head, and it'll come out. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that patterns give birth to patterns after a while. So that would be my suggestion. You can reach me via email, and I'll be happy to give you any of that, or my Facebook page. Friend me there. I'll be happy to give you more info or more insight on things to practice. Can't see your hand. Oh, see, that's those small details, Jeff. Let me move some of this stuff. Lose that. Lose this. Okay. I think that's good to know. You can't see. Let's go back to. That should be leaving the screen now, and there's such a delay here. There it goes, disappearing now. That last one's going to be out of the way. And I'll give you the same things again, Clive. Here's the patterns I would give early students, depending if you need this for finger memory and motor skills, and that would be. And then the reverse. And then so on and so forth. 1, 3, 2, 4. Here's the one that would always throw them, and that was keeping your hands on there, because again, I believe in economy of movement. So I would tell them, don't move to the next string with that finger until you need it. Now, again, that's the pattern. If it's just for motor skills, there's a million of them. I think I showed Jeff and I were joking with one where you pick a fret and you just play one. That's a pretty comical thing. But if it's having to do with this actual compositional device, here's what I suggested before. You couldn't see my hands. Do them in third, groups of 3. Groups of 4. and so on. That's my suggestion. Remember, people ask me, well, how do you play fast? Well, you have to get to where you hear fast. The ear is everything. No one told you how to move your tongue to say the words mommy. You heard it in your head, you heard it in your ear, you emulated people until your tongue did the proper thing, the proper motion to get coming out of your mouth what you were wanting to hear. So, that's my suggestion. But again, would be really interesting. Okay, so with the looper, you mean playing against the looper? Let's make a change here. Against the main chords or the four chords that group of notes suggest. All right, so if it's against the looper, for practice purposes, since this is all in one key, okay, this is kind of limited because you're only going to go. I'm doing patterns. That's all A minor 6, A minor 6. A minor 6. Sorry, once in a while I'm popping in some other notes I hear. So this is the same thing. I'm just linking them. Now I'm just going to use wherever my ear tells me to go. Here, I'm just using all those chromaticisms. I'm going to aim for that C. Aim for it again. Aim for it again. I'm going to aim for the higher C. I'm going to go down from the C down to the A. In that one key. Now I can get sexy and do a dominant approach and go 5/7 to taking me back to any of those notes. You listen, you'll hear it. Here we go. What did I do? I played a B flat 7 and I've talked this over with Jeff to show him this, which is the same as F minor, B flat 7, or A flat major 7. Okay, so that's the same group of notes, just in a different targeted key of the moment. Okay, so F minor 7, B flat 7, A flat major 7, or D minor 7 flat 5 is the same grouping, just based out of a F minor 6 grouping, okay, of their notes. So I just use that to take me away, just put a little hair on the A minor because it's getting redundant. Okay, so back to A minor. Here we go. Here I go. So I just added more hair because I made it do this. I made it do this in the middle of it. It was going, and then I went, and back. You heard that once ago? So now I'm playing on that. And I'm back. I could do that. It's a stagnant thing. I could make, if you were comping for me and it was A minor, you wouldn't go do this the whole time. You'd go. You wouldn't stay just on that forever. You'd give me something to kind of, create some gravitational pull, Anyway, we're going off on stuff that we'll talk about the next time, but that was a demonstration. So does that help? The other thing is, let me shut this looper off. This is a great help, is do it in cycle 5, okay? So this starts out, I think my first chord change is D7. Okay, so that's D7, G7. So don't change. C7. Gonna go to F7. Gonna go to B flat 7. Okay, and that again will pay such dividends. It's ridiculous. You're just gonna have to do it slow and be patient. It didn't come to me overnight. It's the more you put in, the more you'll get out. So Clyde, be patient with it, because I'm telling you, once you, I'm a believer that once you get these under your belt, it will. I don't want to say simplify, but you'll be a better focused player. And it was said to me by George Benson, I think simply, but I play complex. You cannot, I don't know, in my mind, I can't think complex and play complex. I can't. It's just, I'm a slave to too many masters that way. So to me, chord tones, and this is a way to focus on chord tones without me telling a student, okay, now go home and play your arpeggios. Right there in the secret of the A minor 6, okay, right there in the secret of the A minor 6, you have targeted chord tones for 4 chords, or automatically. So when I play with George and he goes like this at the end of a blues, okay, he's thinking that probably as a B flat 9 chord, right? But when I stopped him, he goes, oh, I don't care, man. It's the sound. It's the sound, brother. He's right. It's the sound. So get those under your fingers. Next time I do this will probably be sometime next week. I'm not certain of the days, but I'll post it, and I'll just keep adding on to this. And I will, for those that, I will go back and talk about major scales and the whole steps and the half steps. Steve's about to say something. Come on, Steve. If you could, that would be great if you could. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to go back to square one and talk about the whole steps and half steps. Talk about the real meaning of diatonic, okay? I can ask many people what they think. What does the name diatonic mean? And some of these are players that have been playing forever. And the most common answer is, oh, well, it's the family of a key. I guess. But riddle me this, and I'm showing my age. Riddle me this, Batman. Okay, what does dia mean? Dia means 2. 2 watt. 2 watt. In my mind, it's two qualities of sound. Those two qualities are rest or movement. Or in musical terms, tonic and dominant. A dominant chord is a demanding chord. You meet someone who has a dominant personality. He dominates the conversation. He dominates being respected, being paid attention to. Okay, tonic is restful. It's peaceful. Those are the two qualities, and there are two qualities in the diatonic system. And the diatonic system is comprised of a tonic sound, restful, and a dominant sound, or still and movement. And once you understand that, then you realize that a 1-6-2-5 progression is nothing more than just rest, rest, move, move. And we'll talk about that next time. I don't want to pound you guys, but we'll talk about that. Talk about the building of a major scale, the notes taken out of the major scale that created the pentatonic scale, how blues notes got incorporated because of the field hollers, and folks picking cotton, created melodies where a sharp 9 or flat 3 or flat 5 or flat 7 became a prominent melodic note, which it wasn't back when the music came from Europe. So they became prominent melodic tones. We'll talk about all that stuff. It's all intriguing. It all, is what makes American music unique. The blues is the essence of everything American. If you can't play the blues, there isn't a damn thing you can play that is out there. Whether it's R&B or soul or jazz or country or rock and roll or any of that. And to me, for my ears, the best even jazz players have that underlining thread of getting pretty funky with the blues in their playing. George does it, and it's funny because even on my gigs, I just see when you just dirty stuff up a little bit and you start adding some of those great melodic melodies, people pay attention. It touches the soul. Jeff just reminded me, I saw the post, if you haven't already, like my channel, subscribe to it, pass it on. I will sit here and reiterate anything and all that goes on in my in my cranium. I've been doing this a long time. I got a lot of fun stories about some great, not only educators, like the great Charlie Banakis and Dennis Sandoli, but of GB, of Bill Levitt, Mick Goodrick, all the people that I had the good fortune of being under. Has a big wet behind the ears 17-year-old coming out of Fort Lee High School. So does anybody else have any more questions before we wrap it up? And while I got you all here, I want to give a great thanks and a shout out to my buddy Jeff McElrain. He his kindness to get me hip to all this so I can reach out to you people. I probably should have done it far sooner, especially during this COVID thing, but I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy to continue doing it. And again, I can be found on Facebook as well as YouTube. I can be found my email address if you have any questions. And I will eventually publish some of these little pamphlets so they can all be gotten and you can keep record of it. Hi, Lise. How's Nashville? Did you just join? You missed my whole presentation, my whole my whole PowerPoint. Um, so I think Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. This can all be rewatched on my Facebook channel, on my YouTube channel. Can it not? And we will discuss secondary dominance. I'm going to never to put it into practice. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, put it into practice. You know, start out slow. There are a great deal of tools out there now that I certainly didn't have. I'm 68 years old. Um, when I grew up, there wasn't a looper, there wasn't CDs, there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't any of that stuff. So um, I think I told this story with Jeff. I would just like anybody else just go get a record and hey Dougie, and I would drop the needle on the record, or sometimes put a quarter on it and slow it down. But of course, back then, if you slowed down your record, you also lowered the pitch by a whole step. So now you had to learn something a whole step lower, or you could tune your guitar to that record, which was ridiculous. But then by the time you were done learning the song, the record was ruined. And case in point, and I think I mentioned this, I went from playing in a band with my buddy Jerry LaRosa and a bunch of my high school friends doing Paul Butterfield, um, and the Blues Project, and enjoying things like Mike Bloomfield and Danny Kalb and those guys. And then someone turned me on to Wes. I believe it was mine and Jerry's late friend and great drummer Tony Corbicello's uncle turned me on to Wes Montgomery, and I bought the record called Dynamic Duo, Wes Montgomery and Jimmy Smith, and there was a blues on there, and it was called James and Wes. It was a blues in F, and I learned that, and the lick that blew me away was this one. Because it was playing on the change as opposed to the little you know little box that we're all playing in at the time, and you know so anyway, so I beat the hell out of that record, and then years to come, I made my students that studied with me early on, that was their first jazz blues transcription. And I think I mentioned this in the past. A great guitar player who studied with me way back when he was all of like maybe 14 was Barry Green, and that was one of Barry's lessons, and his turntable played half step fast. So he brought the transcription and wrote it all out in F sharp, blues in F sharp. So, but credit to him for sure. So that's the stuff you dealt with. Now, you can see a million players up close. You can. I mean, we used to have to pay a lot of money to go see the likes of George Benson and sneak in back when drinking was 18. We used to sneak into. Well, back then we were at Berkeley, so we'd sneak into the jazz workshop, and and George, and see George up there, leaning back on a stool, probably back then playing. I want to think his old D'Angelico or a Guild, or Kenny Burrell, or any of those guys, or Miles, or close up. But that was spending the $10 to have one drink of nothing, and then get kicked out of the place. That was my food money for the week. But anyway, now, man, we could check that all out. I check everybody out, and to quote George Benson again, and I mentioned it in my Jeff interview. If you don't want me to steal it, don't play it in front of me. And that's one of George's favorite sayings. So I listen to everybody. These cats out there, on YouTube are great educators, great players. Um, it's just I guess as a 68-year-old, it's sad that there's no venue that these people can be greatly appreciated other than um, you know in um, in this venue. So support them all. It's support them all. It's all great stuff. Um, I see Lise and Dougie there. Lise, did you get to hear any of this at all, or did you jump in just towards the tail end? Any other questions, guys, ladies? Lise, I hope Doug is whining and dining you. And if he isn't, he should. My buddy Jeff still out there? All right, guys, I'm just going to give it probably another 2 minutes, and I'll jump off. Oh, there's Hank. He's sleeping. He's named after a great guitar player, Hank Garland. And if you haven't heard Hank Garland and Jazz Winds from a New Direction, that's really his paper name. Jazz Winds from a New Direction, and we call him Hank. Um, you got to check that out. Hank Garland, another great, great, great guitar player that did his stint in Nashville, and a big influence on George Benson as well. Him and Wes were two big influences, and Coltrane and McCoy Tyner is also. Oh, Jeff is still there. Um, I had the great pleasure to work on a bunch of three of George's albums, and the most the one was called Big Boss Band with the Count Basie Orchestra, which is killer. But the other one, George woke me up at 2 in the morning and said, "Could you come to the studio with McCoy Tyner, Ron Carter, and Al Foster?" And I was like, "Were you kidding me? I'll leave now." And that was Tenderly, which is a hard album to find, but George plays his butt off on a lot of great stuff. Uh, and I guess I was fortunate that he thought enough of me to put my name in that on the credits. But anyway, um, no questions about what we chatted. Lise, you've heard a lot of this before, but if you get a chance, look through it and see if you have any questions, or see if I cleared up any of this stuff. Um, Jeff and I are going to start going through my stuff, and we're going to make small pamphlets that we'll put for a feed up there on all of it. But we will go back at some point to the beginning for people on major scales and all that, and the gravitational pull of major scales. All right, Jeffrey. Thank you again, brother. All right, folks. I wonder if the Yankees are winning or losing. I hope to see you all soon, and thank you. And hit subscribe, hit the bell, or whatever people say to let you know I'm back on when I'm on. And I will see you all sometime next week, probably next Thursday as well. All right. So stay safe, and don't and feel free to reach out to me however way you need to. I'll be happy to help you out. Okay, folks, stay safe.